Hello and welcome. This session will be a full course on Azure Data Factory, and this will be a full-fledged analysis. And the first thing we will be doing is to go to Azure portal and create a new resource group. Let's create one. And in this resource group, we will be performing all the actions. Let's select or type the name as Azure Data Factory and select the region to be US Central and click on Review and Create. And create. Our resource group has been created. So let's go to the resource and let's create some infrastructure inside it. The first thing we will be creating is a Azure storage account, and the storage account will store all the files and folders and containers for the Azure Data Factory. The resource group is already selected. Let's give the name Data Factory storage account. Leave the primary service as is. Let's select redundancy to be locally redundant. And in the advanced, ensure that you have this hierarchical namespace selected or checked in. If you do not, there will be issues later with the data path when selecting path in source and sync. Now let's click on review and create, and validation successful. Let's click on create. Our storage account is under creation. Let's wait for it. And our resource is gone. Now let's open our resource group in another tab, and this time we will be creating an Azure Data Factory. So this was our resource group. Go to create in the marketplace, write Data Factory, and let's select Azure Data Factory. Click on create. Now let's give a name, Data Factory Project 1122. Select region, Central US, and version is v2 is fine. Git configuration fine. Networking as is. Advanced as is. Now go to review and create. Let's wait for validation, and it's done. Let's initialize. This will take a few seconds to create the deployment and Azure Data Factory. Let's just wait for it. Let's go to resource. Deployment is done. This is our Azure Data Factory. As you can see, let's open Data Factory Studio. This will take a few seconds. Let it load. Now our Data Factory is up and running. Let's go to storage account and create a few containers we need. Let's click on create container. The first one is source and second one is destination. Create and we have to upload a file inside the source container. We can select add directory to create a directory and then upload a file, or we can just upload, and the file we are uploading is fact sales 1, and go to advanced, upload to folder. Let's give the names CSV files, upload. Here a CSV files directory has been created and our file is up. Now let's go to Azure Data Factory, and the first thing we will need to create is a linked service. So go to manage, click on new. Let's select Azure Data Lake Gen 2. Now random name is fine. Let's select the Azure subscription and the storage account name. Rest all is fine. Let's test the connection. And now click on create. Our linked service has been created, and the first function or the first task we will be performing in Data Factory is the copy function. So what we'll be doing is copying the file that we just uploaded in source folder and pasting it or automatically using pipeline inside Data Factory to the destination folder. So go to the author tab, and in here you can see currently there is no pipeline. Go to the three dots, new pipeline. Let's rename it. Let's rename it pipeline manager. This. Now go on to move and transform and drag copy data. Leave the name as random and let's go to source. There is currently no source. Create new. Let's search for data lake gen 2. Continue. File format CSV. Continue. Linked service. And let's select the path. You can directly browse. Well, if you had not checked the hierarchical namespace, you would not be getting these options and you will get a root account error. And let's select the file, click on OK, import schema none, and click on OK. Let's preview the data. This will show us the data inside this file. Let's close it and let's also create a sync. You will see delimited text that we created, but we are not selecting the same thing as sync. Sync will be the destination folder. Let's select data lake gen 2, continue, CSV, continue, linked service, and let's select the destination folder. Inside the destination folder, there is currently nothing, and we can also give a directory name here if we want. Let's give CSV files, none, and OK. Let's check our source, and source looks fine. Sync as well. Now to run the pipeline, select this, click on this blank area and click on debug. This will run our copy data pipeline and it's currently queued. Let's just wait for it. Pipeline status succeeded. You can see. Now let's check in here. Let's go back. Let's go to destination, CSV files. Here you can see our fact sales CSV is now present. Now the next thing we will be doing is copying CSV data from GitHub using REST API. So let's get started on that. Here you can see this is my fact sales data 1 and 2. Let me show you inside my GitHub repository. This is the data, and we will be using another pipeline to create the copy task. Click on new pipeline. Let me collapse this. Now let's rename it pipeline underscore get, and it's present. Now let's select a copy function, copy data, and let's select source. We can select, so basically we have to copy data from GitHub, which will be a HTTP connection. So let's select HTTP and click on continue. Now the data type is CSV and continue. Linked service. No, not a new linked service. And why is it not showing? And we can also rename it. Let's rename it as source underscore get, and we will be creating a new linked service, HTTP server 1. Let's get the base URL. To get the base URL, open your fact sales 2 and here click on raw. Now the base URL ends at .com, so let's select that much only and copy it. Base URL, let's paste it in copy. Base URL, we do not need to put slash, and authentication type, let's select anonymous. Let's also rename it and HTTP server get. Let's review our settings. Let's test the connection as well. Our connection was successful. Now click on create. Now let's get the relative URL, and the relative URL starts from my username slash Azure Data Factory reference, everything else. Let's paste the relative URL here and import schema none. Now this all looks fine. Click on OK. Now let's create a sync. Click on new. Select Azure Data Lake Storage Gen 2, CSV, linked service. Let's browse the destination folder. and import schema none. Click on OK. Well, we can also browse the file name or give the file name, but let's leave it like that for right now. Close and discard changes. Select. Okay, it's deleted. Let me do it again. Destination SV. Okay, okay. This all looks fine. Now let's run our pipeline. To do so, click on debug, pipeline under progress. Let's just wait for it. What this will do is copy the fact2 file and it succeeded. You can see HTTP, Azure Data Lake. You can also see the output, data read, data written, and everything else. Now let's check the destination. Let's just refresh it. Here you can see folder under my username, Azure Data Factory, reference, ads, main, raw data, and then fact sales too. Why this happened, let me show you. So as you can see, and here the path is username slash something slash something slash something slash. So and every slash is treated as a directory. That's why this happened. So what we can do is let's change, go to sync, and let's create a new sync, data lake, CSV, this. Now, this time we will give a file name. So let's OK and file2.csv and let's none, delimiter 4. Now let's run our pipeline and progress. Let's just wait. Our pipeline ran successfully. This time the data should be inside the destination folder. Let's go back to CSV files and you can see it's under file2.csv. So just a quick recap of what we did. The first thing we did is create a simple pipeline to copy data from one container to the other container using the copy data. And in the second pipeline, we copy data using REST API or from GitHub. In the next section, what we will do is get the metadata of the files here and use it to perform various functions. Hello and welcome back. In this session, we will perform a new activity inside our data factory, which will be to get the metadata. And here we will get the metadata for a specific file inside our destination folder. Let me show you. Here in this CSV files folder, there are two files, backstage one and file2.csv. We will be getting the metadata for only the backstage one or the files beginning with fact. Here there are only two files, but it could be hundreds of files for you in the organization. Now, let me just recap you what we did in the previous one. We copied data from a source container to a destination container. We created a source dataset and created a link and run the commands and validated. So this ran our pipeline. can see the output, data read, issue details, which was the first part. And the second part was to copy data using REST API, or basically we copy data from GitHub, a file inside GitHub, and then save it under a file name file2.csv. Now let's get started. Let's first create a new pipeline to get the metadata. Let's collect this. And we name it, go to metadata, and let me just close this. Now let's have our first activity, and inside it we will be getting the activity of get metadata. So this will get metadata for us from a destination folder. Name is fine, get metadata, and we scroll it up. Go to settings, and we will select a new data set, and our data set will be not job blob. Sorry, not blob, it's a data lake gen2, and continue. File format obviously CSV, continue. Image service, we already created one, and here we will select the CSV files folder as path. Do not select a specific file name, or it will give the metadata of that specific file name, which we do not want. And let's go to destination and CSV files, and this is okay. This will give us the metadata for all the files present in the CSV files folder. Import schema none. Click on OK. Now we want a fields list, and so why we want a field list is to get what type of metadata we want, and here we will be selecting child items. This will give us the metadata of all the files inside the CSV files folder here. As you can see, CSV files. And there are other options if it exists, last modified, type, name. Okay, that's all for this one. And our get metadata function or activity is created. Now let's run this activity so that we can look at the output of what we are getting. And it ran successfully. To see the output, go to the activity name get metadata and click on this output button. Let me open it up. As you can see, there are child items, and it has an array of elements with two types, name and type. Its first one, fact files, file 2. Now let's say there are 100 files. It will give us the metadata of all the 100 files. And we want to get the metadata of a specific file, so we will be using the if condition to get the metadata for only the file name whose name starts with fact something. So let's first create a new container inside our storage account. And here, let's create a new container. Let's give it a name with port, and let's click on create. So why we are doing this is to only transfer the file name, the name starting with fact. Now let's go back to Data Factory. So what we see from this output is that get metadata give an array of file names, but we only want file name that start with fact. And if it fulfills that fact, we want to transfer the file to a new container that we just created under the name of report. And so what we will do is use if condition on top of for each. So for each, we'll create a loop and we'll read the names and then we will satisfy the if condition inside the for each. And to do so, let's just first get for each. And here is iterations and conditionals for each. Now there are a few options on the side, right side of get metadata as to connect the next iteration. So there is option on skip, on success, on failure, on completion. So we want on success and let's connect it to for each. So inside for each, let's first change the name for each CSV and go to settings and select sequential. Now under items, select add dynamic content. Now we want to get metadata and then get the, so first let's select get metadata. This will give us the metadata of entirety of the destination slash CSV files folder, but we want to get only the metadata of the child items. Let me show you. I can just cancel itself. Here you can see there is the entirety of metadata, but we only want the child items. So inside for each loop, we will select get metadata and here we will write child items. And as you can see, it will give us the child items inside the output of metadata. Now click on OK. Now inside for each loop, go to activities and click on this pencil button. Here you can see an empty canvas. So what it is an empty canvas inside the for each loop. And let's get the if condition inside here. So as I told you before, we will be using if condition on top of for each. So for if condition is inside for each loop. Now let's rename it if file matches and become fine. Go to activities and let's go to expression and add dynamic content. Now we want is to select for each CSV and then get its name. So we will be using at the rate item and then give dot name. Now you might think it is done, but it is not. We want to use this expression in if condition. So you might think it is done, but it is not. And we want to use this expression in our if condition. And we know that we have two names. Basically, let me show you the fact sales one and file two. And we know that we want to get the metadata for fact only. So we will be using a condition called starts with. So let's just remove all this. And in here you can go to system variables, or if you do not know where, let's just type starts with. Select the start with, or you can directly start typing. So it starts with, but you might not remember these functions. So how you can get these? So go into these three dots, select functions, and here you can see multiple functions. As we are working on string functions, so expanding the string functions, you will get concat, ends with, is this function? Here it is, starts with, and as we want file name to starts with fact, we will do the starts with function. And the next thing we want to do is let's check the file name first. As you can see, it is F in uppercase and the rest is in smaller case. So let's go back to Data Factory and inside the starts with functions, we will type item and here let's give dot name because starts with and item dot name was for the metadata and checking the name and let's give the value as fact. Remember, keep the case as what it was in the destination folder. Now click on OK. So if this condition satisfies, we want to perform what activity? So let's go to true. Now we will be going inside the if function. So what this means is once we have this activity we want to perform, let's select true or false. Now go to this pencil and here you can see we are inside get metadata. Then for each CSV, then if file matches with the if condition, and we are inside the if condition right now. Now let's what we want to do inside the if condition is copy the file from the destination folder. Uh, Basically destination container, which is the destination was named, but currently the source. And let's type here copy and let's tag this copy data and let's give it a name copy fact data and sorry, go to source. Now here we will select the source and let's click on new. The source is the destination container and we will be creating a parameterized data set. So go to Azure as we know our source data lake gen 2. Now click on continue, file format CSV, link service. Let's rename this and well, this is fine. We'll try step 6 and let's select the file path, destination, PC files, and we do not have to specify or select any specific file. And so why we are not selecting any specific file? Let's say, let's go to the destination folder first. Let's say there was a file named fact sales 3 or fact sales 4. Uh, so what we are doing is with parameterized dataset, we can change the value of any file with each iteration. Now let's go back here and click on OK. So now every time we have a condition satisfied, we want the copy activity performed instead of hard coding it. Let's just edit it, parameter 6, open it, and we will be editing it. Let's edit here. Now go to advanced. Now in the advanced option, we will open a data set and you will see a page just like this. Now let's go to parameters
So why we are doing this? So this will create dataset and take us to the this edit page for this dataset. And inside parameters, we will be creating a new parameter. Let's give it a name. So p underscore file name. Now let's go to connections and here inside file path, let me just this. We will be dynamically adding the content and so why we are doing this because we want to add parameter which is the file name and let's select it. So it will automatically give us dataset.p file name. So this is a variable file name which we can provide value dynamically. So with each for each loop and for each activity where if condition is true, this will give us dynamically give us a file name. Now go to OK. Now let's go back to the copy activity. Here it is, check metadata, and inside it we have source. And you can see here it was updated and it is asking us for a value. So how we provide this value is a file name coming from item.name. So how to do that? Let's go to add dynamic value and let's type here at the rate item dot name. So specifically, it is to specifically copy only the file name. Now click on OK. Now let's go to sync. Because we are pointing the output to reporting, we are selecting new and we will take a look. Let me just type data link. Here it is. Continue. CSV. Continue. Now let's select the link service. Now in here, let's browse to the report folder and okay, let's give for directory name CSV files again. And in the file name, because it is dynamically changing, we will first import the schema as none. We provide the file name as dynamic. Let's click on advanced, open the data set, and it will load this. Go to parameters, click on new, let's give the name again as same. The file name. Now go to connection. In here, go to file name, add dynamic content, use the parameter that you created. Okay, now let's go back to get metadata or the copy function. And in here, go to sync, or if you are in sync, go to value, add dynamic content, same thing. And here we write item dot name. Now click on OK. Now let's go back to the first activity that was get metadata. And here you can see. Now let me give you a recap of what we did. So first we created the get metadata function and here we selected child item. So we will be getting the output as child items. The next thing we are doing is for loop. Inside the for loop, we get the activity and output dot child name. So we are reading each child name and inside there are two parameters, file name and one other. Now inside it we are getting the if. And then we click on pencil to get the if. And inside the if, we are getting the get, dynamically getting the file name and the one is starting with if. And if it starts with the one fact, and inside it, we are getting the copy data and we are copying from the dynamic file name and pasting it to dynamic file name inside the what we're gonna report folder. And let me just go back and run this. Okay, and let's run it. You will see if file matches for its CSV and then copy data. Let's wait for it. And all of us succeeded. Now let's go to containers, report, if files, back page, and it is here. Now that we have data in our report folder, a report container, we want to transform this data, or you can say apply transformation techniques. So we will be using Spark for that. And to get Spark, let me show you data flow. And we will attach this data flow in here on success. This will be the next part of the video and see you in the next part. Hello and welcome. This is the third part of the Data Factory tutorials. In here, we will create a data flow. So what data flow is to transform data and let me first show you what we did previously. So we get the metadata from the destination folder. Then we apply it to a for each loop and inside the for each loop, we move if else to match if that file we want is present specifically. But if it matches, then it goes to the report folder in the same storage account. And if not, it will move to the next file. That's what we all did. Now we will be creating a data flow. So you can drag and drop data flow and connect it to the success part here. Now select data flow. Let's name it data transformation. Now let's go to settings, select data flow, create new one, and data flow one or data transfer one. And let's go to properties. And let's instead of data flow transform, let's give transform CSV. And here, click on add source drop down and select add source. Let's give source CSV and and here we have to provide the data set. Let's click on create new, let data lake gen2, file type CSV, name service name, and select the file path of the report and CSV. You can select this file that comes as packseries1 or you can just leave it as is and click on OK. If you leave it, it will select all the files. Now select it for none. and click on OK. Now go to source options. Here, what is this wildcard path? It is to perform recursive reading, and we are not doing that. So let's go to projection, and we will import these projections. So before that, we need to turn on debug data flow, the data flow debug. And what this does is keep our cluster running, and there is a time to live. 1 hour is enough. Let's click OK. This will take a few minutes to turn this on. Let's wait for it. Now our cluster is ready, so we can perform functions on the data. So before that, let's just import the projection. What it means is basically we are importing the schema, and let's wait for it. Let's go to data preview. It's still importing. Let's do it. And our projection has been imported. So it has automatically decided data type of our schema, transaction ID short, transaction date timestamp, string, short, double, boolean. So how this has been done, it has been decided by Spark, and there is a function called infer schema. That's what Spark uses. Now let's go to data preview and refresh. Here we will be seeing our data. That's great. Let it fine. Here it is. You can see all our data is present here. The transaction ID, transaction date, product ID, customer credit card, loyalty card, yes, no, the cost. Now let's perform our first transformation. To do so, in the whiteboard manager, click on source CSV, and on the right hand side, you will see a plus icon. Let's click on it. And here are all the transformations we can apply. Join, conditional split, right column, select, filter, sync, everything. The first transformation we will be performing is the select transformation. Now click on select, and here it is. Let's rename it first. Select columns. Take it out.
Now we will just select those columns we do not want to keep. So let's scroll down and let's say I don't want payment, credit card, loyalty card, and cost. We can just delete these columns, and these are the left columns. Now let's go to data preview and let's refresh. Now here are just the columns we have left. Transaction ID, transactional date, product ID, customer ID, quantity, price, everything. Now let's perform another transformation. So take this down and click on this. Now let's perform filter. Let's just search for filter, and let's say we do not want. Let's first inspect the data. Filter rows and columns, filter on, and where do we want to add the filter? So let's open the expression builder, and let's say we do not want customer ID. Let's just select customer ID and say not equals to 10. Now save and finish. This is fine. Now let's go to data preview and select refresh. This time we should not be seeing customer ID 10 in our data preview. Let's search, and there is none. There is no customer ID 10. Now let's perform some other transformations as well. Let's add one more transformation. So click on this. Let's perform conditional split. Now let's first rename. So what we're doing is perform conditional split on our data based on payment. Let's give it split payment, and let me take it up. So what we'll be doing is create one data stream here, one here, third one also bottom of that. Now let's give the first split condition. Let's give it a name as, let's say, visa. And inside condition, you can directly write in here, or let's open expression builder. You can select payment. Payment. I think I have deleted payment. So let's just let me check what others are available. Maybe. Wait a second. So now there are these available. Let's split it based on quantity. Quantity we have one, two, three. Generally, there is five as well. Let's just create quantity from one to three. So let's change here split quantity, and let's give it name. Well, it's not valid. Type q equals to 1 or q1. Yeah, q1 is available. So let's open expression builder, and let's say quantity equals to 1. Save and finish. Type mismatch quantity string. Okay, sorry. Yes. Now it's done. Let's enter string for other rows. We have to give some other row. Let's give it q2, and q2 plus should be good. No, plus is not. Let's try plus. So where quantity equals to 1, it will display in q1, and q2 plus will display all those with quantity more than 1. Let's refresh our data preview. Currently we have selected q1, so it will give us only the quantity where quantity equals to 1. Here you can see it's all 1. And to preview the ones for q2, let me can select It's the same. So you can select output stream here to Q2 plus. Let's wait for the data. Here you can see quantity 2, 3, 5, every 6, 7, 4. Now let's create one more split below that. So add here and let's give the name Q2 and instead here give Q3 plus. And we can just type it here. Quantity equals to 2. This should work. Now let's go to data preview and refresh. So what Q2 plus will display is all those values with quantity more than 2. Anything 3, 4, 6, 7. Let's go to Q2. Now you can see this is all quantity 2. Now let's go to Q3 plus. Here you can see 3, 6, 7, 4, 5, 3 and other values. Now let's perform one more transformation. Let's just collapse this. On the plus button here, let's perform, let's say we want to perform group by. So we will select aggregate and let's give the name. Just aggregate is fine. Let's group by, wait a second. Let's group by customer ID and in here go to aggregates, then select a column. Let's group customer ID by, let's say, maximum of product ID. So let's select product ID and let's enter the expression. You can open expression builder and in here let's see if max, yes, max is here, max of, or you can just select this, not through product ID, just product ID and save and finish. Now let's go to data preview and refresh. And here you can see customer ID with maximum of product ID. Now, let's say we want to save this data. So how can we do that? Let's just first collapse and show you. After the aggregate, click on plus. In the end, you will find sync. Let's create a sync and let's select the dataset. Click on new, generate to CSV. Let's give data out, link service. Let's browse the path. Let's save it in report. Let's just create a new folder again. Let's just give it out and import schema none. Nope. Okay. Let's go to data preview. Here, this data will be sent to sync. Now to actually send the data to report, let's click on validate and here it's validated. Let's go here. Hello and welcome. In this section, we will be creating a new pipeline for setting the variable activity. So to do so, let's go to pipeline and click on new pipeline. Let me collapse this. Or what we can do is copy this get metadata. We can click on sorry. You know what? Just click on it and Control C. Go to pipeline one and let's paste it here. Just Control C, Control V. Let's give it a name. Let's give var pipeline and close the properties. And now here, click on this blank canvas and go to variables. Now click on new. Let's give it a name. Now give the name. Let's give var files. And in the type, let's say array. Now let's go to activities and select the set variable. Let's drag it and sorry, on success to set variable. Now select set variable. Let's give it a name. Mm, let's say store files. Let me drag it up. Now go to settings and here let's select the var files and inside value add dynamic content. Select get metadata dot output dot child items and okay. Now let's run this. So click on debug. So what this will do is, okay, debug session timeout. Please restart debug. Right, fine. So what this will do is store only the info that is in the variable files. Let's see the output. As you can see, this is what we meant to do. Let's close this. Now we will be creating a storage event trigger. So we will be doing that in pipeline manager. So after copy data, let's attach the storage trigger, search for activity. Mhm. Not this. So now add trigger and new. Let's choose new trigger. Let's give it a name, manager trigger, and schedule. So let's give it storage events and let's select the subscription account name. Let's give it container name of source. So what this will do is every time this file is uploaded or a fact sales file that we define is uploaded, it will run the pipeline. So let's give it, let me check. So you can see what type, how you give the name. So slash source and slash. And here we will give blob path. So how to give blob path? We'll see. We have to give slash CSV files slash CSV files and let's copy this file name and currently there is some error. Let's Here it is. Now let's select the event to blob created and let's say continue, continue, continue. Now let's publish our trigger. Publish, and it is deploying changes to the factory. And it failed. Um, Failed to get subscription, to activate, publish. Don't worry. Let's our subscription status. No issues. Let's go to our subscription and we will add go here and go to resource providers and we will be adding event. Here it is, Microsoft Event Grid. It's not registered. Let's register this. Let's wait for it to register. And the new policy is registered. Now let's go back. Let's validate so that our work is good and refresh the page. Let's just add trigger, edit. Let's detach this, detach and new. Is fine. And let's select the type. The same thing we did before. MSDN this slash course. Um, it automatically took the name. Let's find and better. CSV file slash I think it's copied. Yep. Blob created and that's one. Continue, continue. Okay, publish and new trigger, publish. Now, in the meantime, we will be adding a new activity. Why? Because every time it reads that there is a file named fact sales one, it will be rerunning our pipeline. So let's just delete the file and also create a new activity to delete this file after being uploaded and a pipeline success. Let's search for delete and here let's drag it. Let's select on success and here delete. Let's give the file name. It doesn't work. Delete fact is fine. And let's go to source. Let's, what is the issue? Where is that? Dataset. Which dataset was? Let me check which dataset was it. In here. No, this one. Delimited text one. So text one and logging settings. Select logging account linked with Azure Data Lake. Let's test the connection. There is something. What more does it want? Now let's see our trigger run. It should automatically trigger. Go to trigger runs. Currently there is none. Let's go back and see. Manager trigger. There's some issue. Path is fine. Okay, so for the trigger to run, we need to upload this file. Let's upload it here. And fact sales one. Upload. Now let's go to monitor and trigger runs. Let's refresh. And here you can see our trigger ran successfully. And it should also delete the file. Where did it go? Let's go back and currently here might be some issue with this delete fact. Let me change it. Logging settings is fine. User properties. Might have selected a wrong delimiter. That's why I should. Oh, we had to select source get. Request method get. Now this should work. Let's delete this file and re-upload it. And also, if you upload any other file except fact sales one, it will not trigger the pipeline. Okay, there is another trigger. Now let's check. Just the wrong delimiter selection. That's the issue. No worries. So it was actually delimited text 2 for me, and here our file is deleted. Let me show you after uploading what anything except fact sales 1. Let's upload this normal text file. This should not trigger our pipeline. As you can see, it's not triggered. 744, it's already 745. So you can see it will not trigger our pipeline for any file except fact sales one. Hello and welcome. This will be the last part of Data Factory tutorials. And in here, we will be creating an execute pipeline activity. So to do so, let's go to pipelines, new pipeline, toggle this back. Let's give it a name exec and let's attach our execute pipeline activity. Execute. Let's give it the name manager and settings invoke pipeline. So the invoked pipeline will be pipeline manager. So in pipeline manager, we were copying the data and deleting the file. Now let's execute another pipeline, give it a name, only selected, and its settings. So this was get metadata. So inside get metadata, we were getting the metadata, then running for each loop and inside if else condition. This and now let's go to success to this. Add a trigger, new edit. Let's choose the manager trigger and everything looks fine. Continue. Yeah, fine. Continue. Okay. Publish all. So these triggers were deleted. Publish. It should not give us any error. And after it has been published, we will upload fact file 1. And before that, let's just empty all the, there is nothing right here. So it's all right. This port, we have to empty everything because it will be created on its own. And source, we can delete this. This is no use. Now let's check, it's still publishing. And published successfully. Now let's upload the fact sales one. Load. This should trigger our pipeline. Go to manage. Sorry, monitor, trigger runs. Still has not. No, not something. Selected something wrong. Settings. It should be pipeline manager. And then it should be get metadata. So instead of get metadata pipeline, we have to select here where pipeline. And now let's publish. Publish. It will publish our changes and let's wait for it. And our changes have been published. Now after uploading the fact file to source, our pipeline should be triggered. Okay, upload, and it's uploaded. Now let's go to monitor, trigger runs. Here you can see our two pipelines have been triggered, pipeline manager and exec. That is all. Thank you.